There's one truth that has always stayed with me after years of working with older adults. Far too many people only find out they have diabetes after complications have already begun. They go to the doctor because their vision is getting blurry, because they feel dizzy, because a wound refuses to heal, or worse, because the pain in their feet has become so severe they simply cannot ignore it anymore. But the frightening part is that most of these cases do not appear overnight. The body has usually been sending warning signs for months, sometimes even years, and the first place that speaks up is often not the heart, not the eyes, not the kidneys. It's the feet. Many people over 60 believe diabetes can only be discovered through a blood test. But in reality, the feet often begin to change very early when blood sugar stays high. According to many studies, nearly half of people with diabetes will develop nerve damage in their feet before they even know they have the disease. Even more concerning, about 1 in 5 people with diabetes have no idea they are living with it. They think numb feet are just part of getting older. They think cold feet are caused by the weather. They think cracked heels are only dry skin, until things become much more serious. Today, I want to show you 9 warning signs in your feet that many people ignore. Some of them may seem harmless. Some of them may sound very familiar. But the final sign is the one that worries me the most, because very few people recognize it until the damage has been happening for years. The feet are often the first place affected when blood sugar stays high for a long time. The reason is simple. They are the farthest part of the body from the heart. Blood has to travel the longest distance to bring oxygen, nutrients, and nerve signals down to the feet. When blood vessels begin to weaken or nerves start to become damaged, the feet are usually the first place to speak up. What causes so many people to miss these warning signs is that they often start out very mild. No severe pain, no trip to the emergency room, just small sensations that come and go. And because they seem so familiar, many people tell themselves, it's probably just age. I've met many people who believed they were completely healthy simply because they could still walk normally, eat normally, and sleep normally. But once their blood work came back showing diabetes, they realized their feet had been warning them for a long time. The first sign is also the most common one. Almost everyone has experienced it at least once in their life. But if it keeps happening over and over again, that's a very different story. Sign 1. Numbness and tingling in the feet. Many people describe it in very familiar ways. My feet go numb when I sit too long. Sometimes it feels like ants are crawling on my feet, or I thought I was just sitting the wrong way and my foot fell asleep. Yes, that can happen to anyone. But if this feeling starts happening often, especially when you are not sitting on your foot or there is no clear reason, that is when you need to pay closer attention. One of the earliest effects of high blood sugar is damage to the small nerves in the feet. These nerves are like tiny electrical wires that carry signals between your feet and your brain. When blood sugar stays too high for too long, the protective layer around those nerves begins to wear down. Think about an electrical wire in your home with cracked insulation. At first, the lights still work. The fan still runs. But the signal is no longer steady. Sometimes it flickers. Sometimes it cuts in and out. The nerves in your feet work the same way. They begin sending mixed signals to the brain, creating feelings of numbness, tingling, burning, or even a mild electric sensation in the feet. The dangerous part is that many people ignore this stage because it does not seem serious. But nerve damage caused by diabetes usually does not go away on its own. If it is not controlled early, mild numbness can slowly turn into complete loss of feeling in the feet. And when you can no longer feel properly, you may get cuts, burns, or blisters without even realizing it. If your feet often feel numb, especially at night or when you first wake up in the morning, do not just rub them and ignore it. Start with simple steps. Walk every day, cut back on sweets, drink more water, and check your blood sugar as soon as possible. Sign 2. Burning sensation in the soles of the feet at night. This is the kind of symptom that keeps many people awake for months without ever understanding the real cause. During the day, they walk around normally. But at night, once they lie down in bed, the bottoms of their feet start to feel hot, irritated, and uncomfortable. Some people say it feels like their feet are too close to a heater or like they are standing on a floor that is too hot. Others say they have to stick their feet out from under the blanket or use something cold just to feel relief. What makes this sign so easy to ignore is that many people assume it is just caused by hot weather, being on their feet too much during the day, or poor circulation from getting older. But if this burning feeling happens often, especially at night, it can be an early sign of nerve damage caused by diabetes. When blood sugar stays high for a long time, the nerves in the feet begin to behave abnormally. Instead of sending accurate signals, they start sending false messages to the brain. The brain receives the signal that the feet are hot or burning, even though there is no actual heat source touching them. Simply put, the problem is not the skin or the temperature around you. The problem is that the nervous system is starting to send false alarms. Many studies have shown that a burning feeling in the feet can appear 1 to 3 years before someone is diagnosed with diabetes. That is why so many people go from doctor to doctor, switch shoes, try different creams, and still do not get relief. This becomes even more concerning if the burning feeling comes with tingling, mild numbness, or sharp pain at night. That is often a sign that the nerves are being affected more seriously. If your feet often feel hot or burning when you go to bed, do not just put up with it or assume it is a normal part of aging. Drinking enough water every day, eating more vegetables, oatmeal and beans, and cutting back on sugar can help reduce stress on the nerves. But most importantly, you should check your blood sugar before the problem gets worse. Sign 3. Dry skin and persistent cracked heels. Many people over 60 think dry feet and cracked heels are completely normal. They assume it is caused by cold weather, walking barefoot too often, or simply getting older and losing moisture in the skin. And that is partly true. But if your heels stay cracked year-round, become deep and painful, or never improve no matter how much lotion you use, this may be more than just a skin problem. One of the lesser-known effects of diabetes is damage to the nerves that control your sweat glands. When those nerves stop working properly, the feet can no longer hold on to moisture the way they used to. The skin becomes drier, thicker, and more likely to crack, especially around the heels. At first, it may only be a few small cracks. Then the skin starts to thicken, peel, and become painful when you walk. Some people develop cracks so deep that they begin to bleed, yet still believe they just need a stronger cream. The problem is that these cracks do not just cause discomfort. They can become an open door for bacteria to enter the body. When blood sugar stays high, the body also has a harder time fighting infection. That means even a small crack in the heel can take longer to heal, become red and swollen more easily, and in some cases lead to a serious infection. I have met many people who told me they had tried every cream possible for years, but their heels never improved. That is because they were only treating the surface, not the real cause underneath. If you notice that the skin on your feet is getting drier, your heels are deeply cracked, or it hurts when you walk, do not ignore it. Moisturize your feet every night after a shower, drink more water, and cut back on sweets, soda, and sugary snacks. Sometimes even a small improvement in blood sugar can make a big difference for your skin and your feet. Sign 4. Changes in the color of the feet or ankles. This is one of the easiest signs to see, but also one of the most commonly ignored. Many people notice that the skin around their ankles or the tops of their feet starts to look darker over time. Some see a reddish-purple color, others notice dark brown patches, or even a bluish tint around the ankles. They assume it is just aging skin, sun damage, poor circulation, or simply think, "My legs have looked like this for years." But when the color of the skin on your feet and ankles starts to change noticeably, it can be a sign that blood is no longer flowing to your feet the way it should. When blood sugar stays high for a long time, the small blood vessels begin to weaken. Their walls become narrower, stiffer, and blood has a harder time reaching areas far from the heart, like the feet. When the skin in those areas is not getting enough oxygen and nutrients, the color of the skin begins to change. At first, you may only notice that your ankles look slightly darker than usual. Over time, the skin may start to look reddish-purple, pale, or slightly blue in certain spots. Some people also notice that the skin on their lower legs becomes thinner, shinier, and more fragile than before. This matters because the feet are often the first place to show signs that your blood vessels are struggling. If blood is having trouble reaching your feet, there is a good chance other parts of your body are starting to be affected too. You can think of your blood vessels like roads in a delivery system. When the roads become narrower, the places farthest away are the last to get what they need, and your feet are at the very end of that route. If you notice lasting changes in the color of the skin around your ankles or feet, especially if it comes with numbness, cold feet, or pain, do not assume it is just age. Taking a short walk every day, raising your feet when you rest, and checking your blood sugar early can help you catch the problem before it becomes more serious. Sign 5. Feet that always feel cold, even in warm weather. Many older adults tell me, "My feet have always been cold," or "My feet are so cold at night that I have to sleep with socks on." That is not always something to worry about, but if your feet feel cold all year long, cold even in warm weather, cold under thick blankets, or cold in a warm room, that is not something you should ignore. Healthy feet need enough blood flow to stay warm. Blood does not just carry oxygen and nutrients. It also carries warmth from the body down to the farthest areas. When blood sugar stays high for a long time, the blood vessels in the legs and feet begin to narrow and stiffen. Less blood reaches the feet. As a result, the feet often feel cold, especially the toes. Many people assume the problem is the weather. But in reality, feet that stay cold for a long time usually have more to do with poor circulation than temperature. You may notice it most at night. The rest of your body feels warm, but your feet are still freezing. Some people have to wear 2 pairs of socks. Others put their feet near a heater. Some even use an electric blanket, but their feet still do not warm up very much. The concerning part is that when blood flow decreases, the feet do not just become colder. The skin, nerves, and tissues in the feet also begin to lose oxygen. That is why people with cold feet are also more likely to have numbness, pain, skin discoloration, or wounds that take longer to heal. This is also the stage when the problem is no longer only about the feet. When blood vessels in the feet start having trouble, the heart, kidneys, and brain may be under similar stress as well. By this point, many people begin to realize they may already have 1 or 2 signs on this list. But the next signs are the ones that worry me even more, because they often appear after years of damage to the nerves and blood vessels. If your feet stay cold, even when the weather is not cold, do not just blame it on age. Start by taking a brisk walk for 10 to 20 minutes a day. Move your ankles more when you have been sitting for a long time, and check your blood sugar if the problem continues. Sometimes cold feet are not just cold feet. They may be a warning that your body is no longer getting enough blood where it is needed most. Sign 6. Sharp pain, electric shock pain, or pins and needles sensations. This is one of the most misunderstood signs. People often assume it is joint pain, sciatica, tendon problems, an old injury, or simply the result of years of walking and standing. So they take pain relievers, rub on creams, rest for a few days, and keep pushing through it. But if the pain in your feet feels sudden, sharp, like pins and needles, like an electric shock, or like burning pain at night, the cause may not be your joints or bones at all. When nerves are damaged by high blood sugar over time, they do not just cause numbness. In some people, they become overly sensitive and start sending pain signals at the wrong time. No injury, no impact, no clear reason, yet the pain still shows up. Some people say it feels like hundreds of tiny needles stabbing their feet. Others describe it as an electric current running from their toes up to their ankles. Some people wake up in the middle of the night because of a sudden, sharp pain in the bottoms of their feet. What makes this type of pain even harder is that it usually gets worse at night, when there are no sounds or distractions around you. That is why many people lose sleep for months before they finally discover the real cause. You can think of your nerves like a home alarm system. When the system is working properly, it only goes off when there is real danger. But when the system is damaged, the alarm can keep going off even when nothing is wrong. Damaged nerves work the same way. They send pain signals even when there is no actual injury in the feet. If you often have sharp pain, stabbing pain, or electric shock sensations in your feet, do not rely only on pain medication. It is more important to find the real cause. Stretching your feet and ankles each morning, gently massaging them at night, and checking your blood sugar early may help you avoid more serious nerve damage in the future. Sign 7. Swollen feet and ankles that leave sock marks. This is a sign that many people brush off because they think they have simply been standing too long, walking too much, or sitting in one place for too many hours during the day. It is true that feet can swell a little after a busy day. But if your feet and ankles swell often, especially by the end of the day, and your socks leave deep marks on your skin that last for a long time, it may be a sign that your body is holding on to too much fluid. When blood sugar stays high for years, it does not only affect the blood vessels and nerves. The kidneys also begin to suffer damage. The kidneys are responsible for filtering waste and balancing fluid in the body. But when blood sugar remains too high for too long, the tiny filters inside the kidneys start to work less effectively. The body begins holding on to more salt and water, and because the feet are the lowest part of the body, that extra fluid often settles in the feet and ankles first. Many people notice this when they take their socks off at night. They see a deep line pressed into the skin around their ankles. Some people press on the swollen area with a finger and notice that the dent stays there for a few seconds afterward. That is not something you should ignore. Once swelling becomes persistent, it usually means the problem is no longer just in the feet. It may be a warning sign that your kidneys, heart, or circulation are starting to be affected by high blood sugar over time. The concerning part is that many people focus only on the discomfort they can see. They buy wider shoes, wear softer slippers, but never stop to check their blood sugar or kidney function. If your feet often swell by the end of the day, try raising them above the level of your heart when you rest, cutting back on salt, and avoiding processed foods. But most importantly, do not delay getting checked, because sometimes swollen ankles are not just caused by standing too long. Sign 8. Small wounds that heal. Slowly. This is one of the signs that worries me the most in older adults, because it often appears after the body has already been affected for a long time without anyone realizing it. It usually starts with something very small: a scratch from a toenail, a blister from a new pair of shoes, a small cut from walking barefoot in the house. Most people think it will heal on its own in a few days. But then 1 week passes, then 2 weeks, and the wound is still there. Some people notice that the skin around the wound becomes redder, more painful, or starts leaking a little fluid, but because it does not hurt too much, they keep ignoring it. That is very dangerous. When blood sugar stays high for a long time, the small blood vessels that feed the skin and tissue in the feet begin to weaken. Blood can no longer deliver enough oxygen, nutrients, and immune cells to the injured area. As a result, the body takes much longer to repair damaged skin. A small wound in a healthy person may heal within a few days, but in someone with high blood sugar, that same wound may last for weeks. The problem is not just that it heals slowly. The real problem is that when the skin stays open too long, bacteria have more time to get in. And once an infection develops in the foot, it can spread very quickly. Many serious foot ulcers have started from something as small as a blister caused by tight shoes. That is why doctors always take slow-healing wounds on the feet very seriously. What makes this even more dangerous is that if you also have numbness in your feet, you may not even realize the wound is getting worse. Some people only notice it when they see blood on their sock or start to smell something unusual coming from the foot. If you have a wound on your foot that is not improving after a few days, do not wait longer. Wash it gently with warm water, keep it dry, cover it lightly, and watch it closely. If it still is not getting better after 48 hours, You should see a doctor as soon as possible. Sign 9. Thinning or disappearing hair on the lower legs and tops of the feet. This is a sign that very few people pay attention to. You see your feet every day. You notice your shoes, your toenails, the skin on your feet. But almost no one stops and asks, "Do I have less hair on my lower legs than I used to?" Many people assume this is just a normal part of aging. They think the older they get, the less leg hair they will have, and that can be partly true. But if the hair on your lower legs or the tops of your feet becomes noticeably thinner, or even disappears completely in certain areas, it may be a sign that your blood vessels have been affected for a long time. Hair follicles need blood, oxygen, and nutrients to keep growing. When blood sugar stays high for years, the small blood vessels in the legs begin to narrow. Less blood reaches the area, and the hair follicles are often one of the first things to lose that supply. At first, you may only notice that the hair around your ankles looks thinner. Over time, the skin on your lower legs may start to look smoother, shinier, and almost completely hairless. Many people do not notice this until they wear shorts or until a doctor checks their feet during an exam. The concerning part is that if your body is no longer sending enough blood to the hair follicles, then the skin, muscles, and nerves in that area may also be lacking oxygen and nutrients. In other words, losing hair on your legs is not just a cosmetic issue. It can be a sign that your circulation is slowly getting worse without you even realizing it. That is also why this sign worries me more than most people think. It usually does not appear early. It is often the result of years of high blood sugar quietly damaging the blood vessels. If you notice that you have much less hair on your lower legs than before, especially if it comes with cold feet, changes in skin color, or wounds that heal slowly, do not ignore it. It may be a warning that your body is no longer sending enough blood to your feet. The scariest part is not having just one of these signs. The scariest part is having several of them at the same time and still believing it is all just part of getting older. Numb feet, cold feet, cracked heels, swollen ankles, a wound that never seems to heal. When these signs appear one at a time, many people ignore them. But when they start showing up together, it is often your body's way of telling you that your blood sugar may have been high for a long time. I have met people with 4 or 5 signs on this list who had never checked their blood sugar. They thought they were simply more tired because they were getting older. Then their test results showed that their body had been under stress for years. The good news is that diabetes does not always appear suddenly. It usually develops slowly. And because it develops slowly, you have a chance to catch it early, make changes early, and stop it from becoming something much more serious. If you recognize 2 or more of these signs in yourself, do not wait a few more months. A simple test today could help you avoid a lot of complications later on. Your feet can tell you a lot about your health. The problem is that most people do not start listening until things have already become serious. Diabetes rarely begins with one major symptom. It usually starts with very small changes. A little numbness in the feet, a slight burning sensation, a crack in the heel, a small wound that takes longer than normal to heal. Those signs can show up for months, sometimes even years, before a blood test finally gives you an answer. That is why I want you to do one very simple thing tonight. Before you go to bed, take exactly 60 seconds to check your feet. Look closely at the skin, your heels, your ankles, the color of your skin, your toenails, and the spaces between your toes. Pay attention to whether you feel numbness, burning, unusual coldness, or sharp pain. Do that every night for the next 7 days. You may be surprised by how long your body has been trying to warn you. And if you notice that you have at least one of the signs we talked about today, leave the word yes in the comments. I truly want to know how many people once believed these changes were just part of getting older. If you have parents, siblings, or friends over 60, send this video to them. You may help someone discover an important health problem before it is too late. And if you find videos like this helpful, do not forget to like, subscribe, and come back in 7 days to share what you noticed after checking your feet.